Oh, hello. My name is Charles Betterton. I'm the co-founder of the University for Successful Living. And I'm just sitting here working on a presentation for a CrowdRise campaign to help us expand the circle of success and reach our local market. You know, that's kind of what this world map behind me is all about. One of our mentors is R. Buckminster Fuller, Bucky Fuller, and one of his statements that we love to emulate is betterment for 100% of humanity. Bucky said that for the first time in the history of the world, the technology exists that enables us to help every individual anywhere in the world realize more of their inherent potential. And that is what the University for Successful Living is all about. My favorite story about that relates to the world map, it's kind of like a puzzle. You know, some people say, what if life is a university for successful living? If it is, what did you come here to learn? What did you come here to share? What did you come here to teach with others? You know, we're all faculty members in this University for Successful Living. Earl Nightingale, the co-founder of Nightingale Conant, which is still the world's largest producer of audio video development training content, loved to tell a story about a father who was trying to get some work done, and he had a young son who wanted to play. So the father got smart and he found a picture of a world in a magazine and he cut it into pieces. He turned the world into a jigsaw puzzle and gave it to Johnny and said, Johnny, here's the puzzle, here's some tape. When you put the world back together, we'll play. So Johnny went off to put the world back together. The dad thought he had plenty of time. Johnny was back almost instantly and he had the world puzzle put back together. And the dad said, Johnny, how did you do that so quickly? And Johnny said, Dad, it was easy. On the other side of the picture of the world was a picture of a man. And when I put the man back together, the world was whole and complete. That is the heart and soul and the essence of our expanding the circle of success mission and strategy for the University for Successful Living. And our ultimate vision is even broader than this. The ultimate vision is a fully accredited international University for Successful Living with hundreds or perhaps thousands of local colleges or centers for successful living all around the world, and chambers of commerce and United Way agencies and community development corporations and boys and girls clubs to help reach the underserved populations and help them learn how to awaken to their true identity, learn how to realize more of their inherent potential, and learn how to know how to fulfill whatever their ultimate destiny might be to them. Speaking of potential, you've probably read or heard that many, if not most of the experts in the field say that most of us realize only 5% or maybe 10% of our inherent potential. What is it that makes the difference between someone who's living at a 5% of their inherent potential or 10% or 15% or 20%? What are the successful living skills that we might be able to share and to learn to help more individuals access more of their inherent potential? As a result, we'd have expanded individual and collective capabilities. What would that do? That would enable us to solve personal, social, environmental, economic challenges worldwide. Oh my God, let's have a University for Successful Living. So that is what I'm here to share briefly with you about, the introduction to the University for Successful Living and the invitation to participate and maybe be the sponsor of one of those hundreds or thousands of local centers for successful living. Thanks for stopping by on this opportunity to share. So, if the experts are right, that most individuals, and that's most of our 7 billion brothers and sisters, are only utilizing and realizing 5 or 10 or at most 15% of inherent potential, you think maybe that's why we have so many interesting challenges and problems on the planet that we might want to solve? I didn't have any idea about this. I was the wayward son. I was the second youngest of 5 siblings. The older siblings were National Honor Society students. I was not quite following that mold. And my dear mother gave me, at the age of 16, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Turns out it was the first edition. When did I read it? Probably not for 10 or 15 years. as I began to learn a little bit more about the world of self-development, of personal growth, of spiritual awakening. And I discovered that there is a $210 billion a year industry of development training alone, as this wall behind me represents, from every single aspect of solving life's ultimate success puzzles. I became a disaster relief specialist. I was with what is now FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, for about 6 years, responding to floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, and occasionally to a natural man-made disaster, including a disaster-troubled community that had a lot of problems with racial geographic divisiveness. And I was there as a representative of the federal agency trying to help this community and its residents. And I produced my first community unity celebration and happened to remember Norman Vincent Peale. So I brought in Dr. Peale on the power of positive thinking, and Leslie Calvin Brown, who had just won an Emmy for his award-winning PBS program, Les Brown, the Motivator. So this led me on the path of discovering the riches that are available to help me, you, children, parents, educators, nonprofit agency personnel, anybody, learn a little bit more about how to fulfill more of our inherent potential. At one point in time, I had a high-paying federal job, still with what is now FEMA, but in the Chicago area office, and we had moved to a small intentional community about 2 hours south, where our children, who were then 6 and 1, could be blessed by the most incredible educational system I'd ever seen. So I had a 5-hour-a-day commute. Kind of interesting. Someone gave me a cassette tape program called Lead the Field. It's a classic. Remember Earl Nightingale's story? The Nightingale Conant Company? I started listening to this cassette tape program, and it blew my mind. It talked about goals, it talked about realizing potential, it talked about setting a vision and a mission, and developing successful living skills. That was pretty impressive, so I started buying a lot of other programs. I was in a car. It was a mobile university, 5 hours a day. My then wife complained because I was spending so much money buying cassette tape programs and videotapes, so I bought a franchise. And I said, honey, I got them on sale, so if it worked for her, it had to work for me. So that process caused so many changes in me that my family, my community, and my employer started asking me, what are you doing? What is making that difference? And they kept asking me to share. And I created my first development training program in 1980, and it was a 16-week program listening to a Nightingale Conant product, watching a Nightingale Conant video, and studying successful living skills. At the time, I really didn't know they were successful living skills. That's something that came to me later when I offered to work with Paul J. Meyer, the founder of Success Motivation International. Paul had companies around the world, operated in multiple countries for over 40 years. He found 5 success skills in every country and every culture. And in the order of priority, they are positive mental attitude, goal-oriented, self-motivated, master at managing your time around your personal priorities or professional priorities, and mastery at managing your money around your personal priorities. Now, I was 40 years old when I learned those from Mr. Meyer, and I had a master's degree in community economic development. And I'd only had, in all of those years of education, 1 hour that was relevant to successful living skills. And that was an hour program on setting and achieving goals in my master's program. I began to think, only a few of us are realizing more than 5 or 10% of our inherent potential? Our educational programs are not providing successful living skills? So we started producing a quiz, asking people, what are we here for? What are the successful living skills? What does ultimate destiny mean to you? And the answers to those quizzes provided 2 things. They helped us identify 50 of the world's leading resource providers who are publishing and producing seminars and workshops and training programs and coaching programs to help individuals realize more of their inherent potential. Imagine the synergy there. So all of that began to lay the foundation for what has evolved into the nonprofit University for Successful Living. And now that we've discovered from our affiliation with these world-class programs, companies rather, they target the top 10% of the population. Why? Because those individuals appreciate the value of development training, and they have the money and the willingness and the inclination to buy. The University for Successful Living, the Expanding the Circle of Success campaign, is to reach that other 90% of the population, to provide opportunities for them to learn about, to partake of, for us to repurpose this content to make it more accessible to youth, to underserved populations, to minority populations, to social service agencies. That is expanding the circle of success. Now I'd like to show you a few specific examples of how we're doing just that. As we continued our research for several years into some of the world's best development training programs and publications and coaches and consultants, we published that Ultimate Destiny quiz that asked the world to answer a few questions. Specifically, what does Ultimate Destiny mean to you? What is an example of someone who's living what you would define as an ultimate destiny? What are some resources that you can think of that would help someone realize more of their ultimate destiny? And by ultimate destiny, we mean whatever that means to the individual involved. And the last question was, who are those resource providers? Who are the world-class experts that you have worked with or read their publications or attended their programs, and they are producing results? They're helping people awaken to their true identity, realize more of their inherent potential, and know how to fulfill their life mission and purpose. So as a result of those questions, we identified 50 of the world's leading top resource providers. This one happens to be Louise Hay, who founded Hay House. Imagine that. Les Brown, who continued to work with us after that Community Unity event in 1990 and several other communities, was the first person to receive an Ultimate Destiny Hall of Fame Award plaque. And he received it for helping us in so many ways to repurpose content. He, for example, came into the Muncie, Indiana Housing Authority. I'd written a $250,000 drug elimination grant from HUD, and we paid Les to come in and be part of a prototype Success Center partnership for the Housing Authority. And Les and his mentor, Mike Williams, repurposed a $100 product, a 100-page publication, down to 12 pages for children as young as 7 years old, living in public housing, that won state and national awards from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials. That is expanding the circle of success. That is what we're about. Other answers to the questions in our Ultimate Destiny quiz were, well, what that means to me, ultimate destiny, loving supportive relationships. That means fulfilling my ultimate destiny. That means enjoying optimal health and well-being. We started with an 80-page manuscript that I had written that was accepted for publication in 2007 that was titled Discover How to Manifest Your Ultimate Destiny. That has morphed from one publication with 80 pages into a series of 14 standalone publications totaling about 1,500 pages. They cover those topics that the respondents to our quiz reported were most valuable to them. It was harnessing your creative power, enjoying peace and balance in life, manifesting your destiny, attaining spiritual enlightenment. Imagine that one. Making a difference and leaving a legacy, enjoying optimal health and well-being, fostering personal and planetary sustainability. Has there ever been a greater need for that than we experience today? Solving life's ultimate success puzzles, raising your consciousness level. Because Einstein said we can't solve the problems at the level of thinking, and I believe he meant consciousness where we created them, so that's important. Realizing your ultimate potential, fulfilling your purpose and life mission, enjoying positive, loving relationships, most importantly with ourselves, with our families, with our communities. Enjoying financial freedom and prosperity, yes, that's the #1 all-time bestseller so far, and achieving ultimate business and career success. So here we have the publications that we've developed through Ultimate Destiny Land. That's a benefit corporation. We're partnering with our affiliated nonprofit University for Successful Living to repurpose that content. Like Les Brown and his mentor converted 100 pages, a $100 product, in language and delivery and modality to be able to reach children as young as 7 years old. That is what the University for Successful Living is doing, initially with these 14 standalone how-to guidebooks for solving life's ultimate success puzzles. So we've got similar programs for solving planetary problems, solving the ultimate success puzzle for the United States of America, which, by the way, Benjamin Franklin said is not power, but light. Back to enlightenment, imagine that. So this is a brief overview to the University for Successful Living, the award-winning prototypes of local community resource centers, local can-do community empowerment events where we would repurpose the Speakers Bureau model to be able to help communities as small as 25 individuals learn how to pool their resources, identify shared needs, bring in a world-class program that might cost $25,000 or $50,000 for a community with as few as 25,000 residents. That is expanding the circle of success. That is increasing the opportunities for individuals, for organizations, for companies, for churches, for nations to realize more of their inherent potential, to awaken to the fact that we truly are spiritual beings having a human experience in a temporary way. So if you resonate at all with any of this brief introduction, we invite you not only to participate in and support our CrowdRise campaign, consider becoming a charter member of the nonprofit University for Successful Living. Consider being a sponsor of any or all of the programs. See them being evolved from a publication into a college, a university for financial freedom and prosperity. Reshaping, repurposing the language to meet whatever the primary needs are of our local host community or sponsor. That is expanding the circle of success. A couple of years ago, the MacArthur Foundation issued a request for proposals for $100 million to address problems that affect people, places, and planet. We created a little website at 100millionsolutions.com inviting collaboration, inviting people to come together and explore with us how can we best address those problems. And guess what? We offered our Expanding the Circle Success campaign that we're introducing to you here, that we're inviting you to participate in and help us bring forth as the strategy for what we defined as bridging the access to creative thinking, problem solving, and the other successful living skills divide. Back to the previous comments about how the largest development training companies are focused on the top 10% of the world's population. We invite you to help us reach the other 90% because that might include you, that might include your family, that might include your community, it might even include your nation. So thanks again for the opportunity to share this brief introduction, and believe me, it's brief. I could go on a little bit, to the nonprofit University for Successful Living and our ultimate vision of helping millions of individuals around the world realize more of their inherent potential. Abraham Maslow not only provided the hierarchy of needs, which we include in our programming, but he described a fully actualizing individual. And there were 50 bullet points of what a fully actualized individual represents, looks like. Our focus is to create more fully actualizing publications, more fully actualizing programs, more fully actualizing organizations. How may we help you, your family, your community, your company, your organization realize more of your potential? Thank you again. I'm Charles Betterton. I'm blessed to serve as a co-founder and an interim steward heir of the University for Successful Living.